Welcome everyone for our public meeting. This is the first one for the year. So welcome and Happy New Year to you all. Hope this year goes well for you all. And this is the first meeting for this year, so very excited. We do have a jam-packed event today, so if you're watching it on Facebook, we welcome you as well. Thank you for joining us tonight. This meeting, as I said, it's getting streamed on our Facebook.com Gungahlin Facebook page, and the video recording will be on our Facebook page as well. So if you haven't subscribed or if you're not following us, please do so you get updates on what's happening around the community, and that would be really a good thing to know and get involved in the community as well. So today we got a President's update. I will talk about the sports and recreation and infrastructure projects that's happening in the ACT, and then we're going to talk about the Gungahlin Town Centre East workshop which SLA is doing, and we'll also talk about the parking issues in the town centre. We've been getting lately a lot of issues, and we're also getting some media attention, which is good. And then the Celebrate Gungahlin Festival, which I will talk about. And speakers for tonight, we have Gungahlin Police Update. So they want to discuss about key things that's happening in this region, which is impacting a wider range of community as well. So they're going to talk about the impacts on the low resourcing and stuff. So I'll let them speak about it, and then we'll go from there. And then we got another one was about the petition, the traffic issues there, and Harrison Education Precinct e-petition, which we will be discussing as well. I think that's another key issue, and I'm very glad that community is coming together and then putting all this hard work in bringing the government up to the speed. So which is great, and we do have an update on JACA. From the SLA, so they will provide us an update what's happening with JACA, how many units going to be there, or how many blocks going to be there. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's the plan for JACA. So so if you haven't met, or if you don't know who I am, my name is Henley Samuel. I'm the president of Gungahlin Community Council. I do have my executive members, and thank you, Shah, Ralitza, and Pradeep for joining us. And the others couldn't join, but they're all watching on Facebook. And we do have apology from one of the MLA, Leon Castley, and I think some of them are coming a bit late, but we'll wait for them to come as well. So I will start with the sports and recreation infrastructure project in ACT. I might just need to help the Facebook audience to show the slide as well, so bear with me for a minute. Right, so the ACT government is inviting all the recognized ACT peak sporting and active recreation bodies. If you know someone, or if you're part of one of those ones, please do get involved, because this survey is very important, and it closes on Friday, 28th of April. I know it looks like a lot of time to do this, but sometimes it's easy to get things done to start with. Once completed, this data will help ACT government to involve and decide on the projects and to plan the potential development. So considering Gungahlin as well, we lack in the sporting facilities. So it's important, if you're one of the sporting bodies and if you like to get involved, please do submit this petition. It's very important, because they're going to use this to plan for the next 10 years. Given the importance of this role, this plan will play in the future infrastructure, as I said, so it is a good place to be. So please do, if you know someone, please share with them. I think we can post the link on our Facebook page, which we did. Hi, Kevin.
One of the things that's concerned me about is the fact that it's only for recognised.
Yes.
What about the ones that are not recognised? How do they get there?
I think there's a contact. So so the question was, Ines, You couldn't probably, the people who were watching us Facebook couldn't probably hear what the question was. Kevin was asking, I know if the people who are not part of the recognized ACT peak sporting body, how they can involve in this one. There is a contact email address which we published on the Facebook, which we're happy to circulate. So please contact them. Probably there might be a different way to get involved to this one. So the Gungahlin Town Centre East Precinct Community Workshop is all happening. Please get registered for this community workshop, which is going to be happening in the same place on 15th, which is at 6:30 p.m. East Lake Club, so which is the same place where we are meeting. So you will get an opportunity to see the design and also to provide feedback. The reason why it's very important for you to get involved, we already lost 200 square meters of commercial office space in Gungahlin, and this workshop will, where you can present and put your points in preserving those 100,000 square meters worth of the commercial office space. So it's important for us to have our say. So make sure you put those things. And it's also, you can put an emphasis on undersupply of commercial land in this region. So most of the land has been converted to residential blocks, so we are losing our land. So it's important to involve in this one. And this Gungahlin East Precinct, some of you probably, if you've been following the Gungahlin Town Centre planning for a while, it used to be called as Ovisco. Now that name has been changed, so now it's called as Gungahlin East Precinct. So we can share the link on our Facebook page as well, so please get involved. I think SLA is giving free food as well on that day, isn't it? So somewhere I've read it. So that's all happening.
How does that happen that there was the business park which then became residential towers, and then the office core just becomes a East Precinct? How does the zoning get changed, or is it just...
So to cut the long story short, we've been fighting for the last 10 years, and originally, the twin tower that you see, that used to be the commercial block, but it's been slowly taken over, and then because of that, people can get exemption, and then they started following the same step of those towers. It's changed kind of thing, so now it's all become some of them become residential blocks. So we will have a chat, and I will give you, happy to chat after the meeting, but we've been working on this for a long time. So that's why it's very important to involve on these things as well. So the next one, it's a very, annoying and frustrating issue that's happening around the parking issues in the town centre. If you've been to the town centre, you all know the parking is really hard. But now, because of all those the apartments there with less car parks, so what we've been finding was lack of parking leads to illegal parking, which again turns congested street and which poses a risk in an emergency. So there's a lot of illegal parking happening. The reason was there was lack of parking, which wasn't considered when they did the planning. And as a result, the destruction of the green space and infrastructure, we do see some kind of pipes and congested streets, and all become like a scene for the verbal and violent, communication that's happened because people are frustrated and with the illegal parking, and it's a nightmare. If you want to drive through around the residential park during the peak hours or maybe any time, you will find there's a lot of a lot of cars parked in illegal places. There is a lack of parking available for business operating in this building as well. It is not feasible for every resident to take public transportation. So as a community, we want to take this to the next step, and we want to work with the ACT government to see what are the feasible thing we can do, and also to see how we can implement in the future project that's going to be around the town centre.
Sorry, sir. The ACT government spent an immense amount of money on the light rail to develop that coming to Gungahlin. Is there any plan in the next couple of years to develop a multi-level car park for the use of light rail residents, so that we don't have these parking issues in the local streets?
Yeah. So the question from the crowd, sorry, what's your name? Josh. Josh was, is the ACT government has any plans to do a multi-level car parking to support the light rail or to support the upcoming infrastructure needs. At this stage, I don't think they have any plan. So if there was a plan, we wouldn't be in this mess at the moment. But what we want to do is to chase up and fix the mess, what's been created.
So with the block of land on Hinder Street opposite the DHA building that is now privately owned property, I'm not sure whether any development application has been actually made for or approved for that area, but does that include any high level number of parking spaces for use of residents?
I think the one you are referring where they put the fence kind of...
it's really the one bordering onto the light rail,
yeah.
Hinder Street.
Yeah. I think they used to park the car. I need to get back to you on that. I'm not sure what's the current status on that block, whether it's been in a DA process or I need to get back to you on that one. So the last from my update is on the Celebrate Gungahlin Sports and Wellbeing Expo, which is going to happen in the Amaru Field this coming Friday from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. So it's a great opportunity for the kids and the family to go there and to get involved, where you can meet the sporting local club, and it's also a great opportunity to meet the what's going around in the region in terms of the sporting clubs and the other organizations. What I've been told was there will be a food and drinks available on that time as well, so it could be a good family time. After all the COVID lockdowns and stuff, now it's time to get out and do stuff. So it's a great opportunity if you're looking for the sporting events, or if you want to put your kids into one of those clubs. So the next, I'll go back. So now, without further ado, we want to invite Inspector Dave and his team to come and do the presentation on the policing issue, what we've been seeing around in Gungahlin, especially in terms of resourcing and stuff. So we will let them finish the presentation first, and then we'll take questions. So we'll go from. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Too easy. Thanks, Henry. Okay, we'll come over this side. Okay, thanks very much. Firstly, I'd just like to pass on my appreciation, Henley, to yourself and the Gungahlin Community Council for inviting us along today. Just to give a bit of an update on Gungahlin policing, some of the issues that we face, but also some of the crime trends that are obviously impacting yourselves as community members. With me I have Detective Superintendent Mick Kalatsis, who is the Superintendent of North District. So Mick sits over ourselves here at Gungahlin, also Belconnen and City Districts. So obviously Mick brings a wealth of experience and knowledge in regards to holistic aspects of ACT policing, and myself more specifically here with Gungahlin. So we do appreciate the time that you've given us today, Henley. We are here to answer questions as well, so we will open up the floor if there's any questions either during or at the end. I don't mind. If people want to clarify something or a point that, that either myself or Mick can contribute to, please just let us know. So as I said, I'm the officer in charge of Gungahlin Police Station. I've been in the position since May last year, having come back from national policing operations. Prior to that, I'd spent significant amounts of time in general duties policing here in the ACT before going off to do other things. So I'm in a bit of a unique position that I know things and how they were some 15 years ago, and now I've come back to experience it, and I can tell you I've certainly noticed the difference. Unfortunately, I wish I could say it was all positive, but unfortunately the realities of policing in these days and the resourcing that we are subject to via our purchasing agreement and conditions within the ACT government, it's not quite there. Okay, so Gungahlin District. As we all know, it is rapidly growing, and it has been for some time, and it continues to grow. So we're a population of approximately, if you listen to the census from 2021, we're a population of roughly 87,000. Factor in COVID the last 3 years and the influx of people to the ACT, I'd say we're closer to probably 100,000. That growth has included not just interstate, but also foreign persons or families that have come into the ACT and chosen Gungahlin to settle in. The population itself is one that is a younger population, so similar to something that we saw in Tuggeranong, 20, 30 years ago. It was the area that families would set up, they would first buy, they would establish businesses, and they would go about their daily lives, the kids going to school and whatnot. So we're very much in that infancy stage, even though Gungahlin has been in existence since the early 90s. We are still that youthful community, and with that comes a lot of problems. Development, for one. Okay, we've seen the living conditions, we've seen the land blocks, we've seen the high-rise living, or vertical living as people choose to refer to it these days. And Gungahlin skyline has significantly changed over that time. With that comes issues. We've touched on it a minute ago. There's parking issues, there's issues of disruption, street closures. There are members of the public that live within those communities that probably aren't the most desirable, so therefore conflict comes with it. Those crime trends come with it. It's an issue that we're constantly learning about, and I think it's reflective in the crime trends and how we do address them as well. So as we police things, we're also adapting to the environment. The biggest thing that we do see in Gungahlin is the cultural diversity. It's reflected even in this room, which is one of the greatest aspects about Gungahlin itself, is the people that come and choose to live here. Myself, I'm a member of the Gungahlin community, and it's where I choose to live. It's just also lucky that I get to police it. But with that cultural diversity obviously comes a unique trend and a methodology of how we have to police it. So not only do we have to be aware of demographics, age differences, but obviously we have to be culturally aware, we have to be culturally sensitive, we have to be aware of whether it's religious holidays or observances, or how we are viewed by people from different cultures, whether we are dealing with females or males or vice versa, all those different considerations. So as police, we have to evolve and we have to learn. So with that comes a lot of training. With the training comes a lot of resources, and most importantly, the aspect that I find is time. And there's just not enough time in the day at the moment with the resourcing that we have. So police resourcing. Gungahlin, as we know, it's been here for quite a while. The station was established, I believe, in 1996. I believe, Mick, you said it was opened in 1998?
Yeah, we had an official plaque in 1998, but we believe police actually occupied the building in 97, or probably at the late part of 96.
And as you all know, it's a dual service area. So we've got fire, we've got ambulance, and we've got police. So at the time that Gungahlin was established, that was fantastic. That's great. We had a police service that was minimal in numbers back then. It was, I think, 25 to 29 members. It policed a district that was relatively small. I think there were only 4 or 5 suburbs at the time. It was predominantly a day and afternoon shift. It wasn't open 24 hours. But at the time, it serviced the needs of the Gungahlin community. But as time has progressed, obviously, and things have evolved to what we see now, unfortunately, the resourcing and the infrastructure that supports the police in Gungahlin hasn't grown. At Gungahlin Station, like all the other stations in the ACT, we run a 6-line roster. So with that, it means we have 6 teams. Within those 6 teams at Gungahlin, it comprises 49 members roughly. So that's 1 sergeant and 8 members, so that work under that sergeant and within that team. That's some ideal numbers on paper, but unfortunately that's not the reality of it. When you factor in stress leave, sick leave, annual leave, training, resourcing, redirections because of other stations being short. And the compounding effect of that, I can guarantee you, I haven't seen 49 people on my books since I've been there in May last year. And that's the reality of the resourcing. So you look at it comparatively wise, we talk about Tuggeranong quite a lot as a bit of a benchmark for Gungahlin. Their station, yes, a lot more equipped, a lot newer, a lot bigger, a lot more fit for purpose. They have 6 teams, but they've got 59 members when you factor in search and rescue and rural patrols. So they've got a remit that's similar to what we have in Gungahlin. We have 18 suburbs, they have 19. Their population is roughly the same as Gungahlin, but we have less resources and less infrastructure to support that population. Going back to my point before that we are a growing population, with youth the predominant, issue and growth area. So we don't have that demographic that Tuggeranong has of that ageing or older population that established itself those 30 years ago. Those people have all grown up, but now Gungahlin is at that stage where probably Tuggeranong was 30 years ago. So in reality, we haven't kept up. Future recruitment is a key priority of the AFP and ACT policing. So we are well aware of the resourcing restrictions that we have, and as an organisation we are doing something about it. Our recruitment strategy is very much focused on having a police force or a police agency that is representative of the community and reflects the community. So we're very diverse in our recruitment. We're very diverse in the demographic. So we're not just after, university graduates that have left school and want to get into their first career. We want people with life experience. We want people with trades and skills that are relevant to the community that they're policing. We want people that have got life experience, that have travelled. And we do recruit very well. For instance, Gungahlin is taking on 5 new members next month. And that's fantastic. That's going to help me get my teams back up to that 49 number where they should be. But the problem that goes with that, I've got a station over there that cannot house an extra 5 people. I've got facilities there that we can't secure their guns appropriately. I don't have parking big enough to secure extra police vehicles that are needed. I don't have a muster area for my members to have extra computers so that they can sit down and do the duties and the jobs in support of the community. It just doesn't exist. So it's all well and good that we are recruiting, but we've got no infrastructure behind it whatsoever to support that growth. So we could bring in 100 people tomorrow, which would be fantastic, but I can guarantee you there's nowhere to put them. The station itself is just not fit for purpose. It's old, it doesn't function, it doesn't flow, and we share it with 3 other agencies. Probably the most interesting aspect that I know yourselves here today and also online that are dialing in for is you want to know what are the issues that we see in Gungahlin and how they impact on yourselves as far as crime. I can tell you without doubt at the top of the list there with family and domestic violence is one of the biggest issues that we face as a community and one that we face as a police organisation that has to respond and look after those incidents. It happens on multi-levels, it happens multi-times a day, and it takes up a significant amount of resources. It's not just the aspects of showing up to a family violence or domestic violence incident, it's the wraparound support that we have to give to those people, to the families, working with partner agencies to ensure that the right supports and protections are there for them. It's not just a matter of showing up and taking some notes and arresting someone and off we go. It is never ending. The resourcing is ongoing, it's growing, and it's something that we have to respond to and grow with it. With that, obviously, we need more support and we need further resourcing. It is a very high agenda item for the ACT Policing Executive. Mick is obviously well across some of the serious incidents that we've had in our district in the last 12 months. Some of them are absolutely horrific. And that is something that will flow onto other aspects that myself and particularly Mick will talk about in regards to member welfare and some of the impacts there. You would all obviously have no doubt heard about Operation Toric that is currently ongoing in the ACT, which initially started out in regards to a response to recidivist juvenile offenders and the theft of motor vehicles and the subsequent crime that went along with those incidents. That's now been ongoing, and I think today it was referenced in the media that the 200th offender was arrested today. So that has had an impact on certain aspects of crime, but I can tell you it certainly hasn't put a dent in it in Gungahlin. You would no doubt be aware of the incidents of commercial burglaries in the district on the 2nd of January this year, where there were 19 burglaries committed in 40 minutes by a group of young offenders. So you can only imagine the resourcing that goes into it from a policing standpoint of not only responding to those incidents, to having forensic profiles done, to having statements taken, arresting, locating offenders, collection of evidence, and then not only that, but then we've got the burden of having to go to court and put in a brief of evidence against offenders and then prosecute down the track. So you can imagine the amount of time that a job like that goes. But I can tell you, I'm sitting over a team at the moment that is looking after that at the uniform level. So incidents in the ACT similar to this years ago would have been taken on by a crime team that were dedicated detectives that were dedicated to these types of incidents and ongoing crime trends. Flow-on effects of ACT being under-resourced in the policing scheme is that they can't service those jobs, so it falls back on general duties members in uniform to also take on those investigations. So you've got a junior workforce that is taking on significant amounts of crime, almost learning on the go and adapting as best we can.
Can I make a positive story about that? First of all, I credit Dave and his team for doing that. So I'll just put it in real terms. I've been a policeman in this town for decades and I'm privileged to do it. So let's make this a positive. The men and women, including Dave, and I'll credit him as well, over half the Gungahlin police live in Gungahlin. Their families attend local schools, sports, they probably play with your kids and so forth, and they're absolutely proud. There's not one person in Gungahlin police or anywhere else that I would not credit, their commitment is 110%, not 100% as well. Stories are important. So please humour me just for maybe 2 minutes. 19 different offences in 40 minutes. These youths also at the same time had committed offences in nearby Sutton and Gundaroo, the bakery and also the Gundaroo pub. They were in charge of 2 stolen cars, high value cars, because most people don't get Hyundai Excels anymore. They go into your home and they take your BMW, your Volvo and so forth. Juveniles who aren't licensed, juveniles who are dangerous on the road. Some might say I do have a licence and I might be dangerous on the road as well. But the reality is they were dangerous on the road. Their MO was using a sledgehammer, smashing the place, taking the till. Very few businesses have floats in this day and age because it's largely cashless. The few dollars that were there were taken. The damage and also in some cases tip jars. Now, an interesting fun fact about that. 3 police in Gungahlin, and they were the only 3 police in Gungahlin who did an absolutely great job. Caught 2 out of the 6. Detected them, apprehended them, used their skills, and then we put a small task force led by Detective Sergeant Billings, and credit to him, working with also Operation Toric, and put them before the court, and they've wrapped that up. An interesting fact is this. Whilst those 3 police were detecting and apprehending, we also had a car from Woden come attend to police. Policing is also about being visible. Each one of you have a right to have your houses protected. Each one of you also has a right for us to be visible at the same time. So for value, you got great value of your police as well. It was interesting, Dave was on leave at the time and Acting Inspector Christian Phelan was apologetic. I said as a positive, really? You had 3 police do that? And apprehend them and detect them and give them their dignity, treat them as a child. You know, I had children that age, my children are adults now as well, but I understand firsthand what that's like. Dealing with the parents. One of those parents actually absolutely said, I don't want anything to do with this child. Okay, we're not here to judge them, but that also puts complications for us of how we deal with them as well. So, and bear this in mind, a lot of the traders said, I'm sick of this, I don't want to be involved to give you a statement. I want to trade. And I can't wait for anyone else. So I do take their sense of view, because at the same time, interest rates are going up, they need to trade, and they could lose thousands of dollars whilst waiting for us to do anything else or even cooperating with us. So this is a new reality for us as well.
Commercial burglaries, and I can tell you it continued. Okay, so there was more incidents in the district, a couple of weeks ago. So it's not like we lock some up and then it stops. And I can tell you that some of the assistance or lack of assistance we get with bail laws and everything else, it just puts some of these offenders straight back on the street to re-offend. So Optoric has arrested numerous, offenders multiple times. Thefts and aggravated robberies. I think Gungahlin itself would have seen a rise in those, definitely impacted by things like the light rail. You might not correlate it with it, but it gave people, and particularly juveniles, a great escape route. All they'd do was time their crime and jump on a tram and off they'd go. So there's all kinds of little impacts and changes that have happened within the Gungahlin community that affect crime, that crime environment. Recidivist offenders, we've touched on it. I'm not going to go on with it anymore. People at the marketplace would see it. They'd see the behaviours, they'd see the intimidation, they'd see the standover tactics that some of these kids will do with security at supermarkets. They just don't care. There's no respect of them and there's no respect of us. So in this day and age of mobile phones and body-worn cameras, which I think are fabulous, because not only does it protect the individual and the public, but it also protects police in the way that we're dealing with this problem. But it is an ongoing problem, and it is one that we are acutely aware of. And as a community, and what Mick said about visibility, I don't know how many of you, the last time that you saw police walking around the Gungahlin Town Centre on a foot patrol. I can tell you it doesn't happen too often. And that's a sad reflection, because we've got guys and girls that are out in patrol cars that are tied up at domestic incidents, that are tied up at burglaries, that are tied up at deaths, that are tied up at anything other than what they should be doing, is that physical presence. Because it does go a long way to reassure the public, but it goes a long way to protect the public. And it affects the whole aura, if you will, of what the community's there for. When you've got that disruptive element, which on occasions we do, we all see it, it's just not acceptable. So the more resourcing we can get, the better that we can patrol our community. As I said, and Mick's touched on, we all live here. I don't want to walk down the marketplace and see kids carry on and throwing objects at shops or smashing windows or anything like that. There's no way. I wouldn't put up with it if I wasn't a policeman. But the fact that I am, and I know that we are not doing a good enough job for the community based on our resources, is extremely hard for me to sit back and watch. I'll pass this one on to Mick, because Mick has a very good oversight, as I said before, of ACT policing and some of the impacts on our members, not just emotionally or mentally, but also physically. It goes a long way. Mick sees it every day at his stations at Belconnen, Gungahlin and City. He deals with those members, he deals with our support services that are in place to make sure that police are good. So, Mick, over to you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to our work credit Detective Inspector Dave Craft, has done a remarkable job. Dave comes from a long lineage of maybe 3 generations of police and so forth. He's one of 3 of the Craft families who have been respectively the OICs of City, even intergenerationally as well, of Belconnen and now Gungahlin, and both him and his uncle were senior police as well. And they carry on that legacy, and I dare say probably one of these 3 children will probably be police in the future as well. Regrettably, my son is also a police officer, but in a positive way. Look, the key things is welfare for police members is a combined effort. We can be trained, we can get master's degrees, we can do that. But I'll tell you one thing, we're all made of flesh and blood. A quick anecdote, when I was 19 years of age and I joined the police, my sergeant said something to me. He said, "This shirt's only 2 millimetres thick." As a 19-year-old, I'd be unsure if I understood that. Nearly 4 decades on, I understand exactly what he's saying. So we're made of flesh and blood. We're humans, we try to be professional. And in modern day, most of our lives, or my frontline police officers' life, is people taking vision of them and they're taking vision of everybody else. I call it the Tarantino effect. Everybody's Quentin Tarantino. If you don't think that doesn't have an impact on their life or how they feel, we have to think again. There is an increase of sick leave and so forth as well. But I'll put this in context, and context is very important. They are going to matters. When I get reported to, you go, oh my God. And I'm a very calm man. What they see, what they have to deal with, even the search warrants of the things that they have to seize. It's absolutely remarkable. These same police that you saw in Gungahlin, the last 6 to 12 months, were the same police that you saw at demonstrations. Same police that you saw at Australia Day rallies or events, or during the height of the COVID period when people were angry. These are the same police. At the same time, we have to be agile for that. I'm not making this a sook story. I'm just telling you exactly what they're inclined for as well. Their balance is very important. We make sure now we have SHIELD, which is a health capability as well, psychological testing and so forth as well. Every 6 months they come and they take a medical at the station, not going there as well, and make sure that we are with our heart rates, diabetes and so forth. I got mine done the other day. Everybody gets it done as well. And that's very, very important, the balance. We tell them to switch off. They have technology now, where they have their police phones you can contact. We say, switch them off. You've got 4 days off, go down the coast as well. First-hand family members of mine, both were in the police, and my daughter-in-law used to do that. They don't do that anymore because it's important for them to switch off. So the balance is not only important in mind, body and spirit and their fitness and their outlook. And we absolutely gauge that as well. There is stress on families. They'll ring up their partner, wife, husband, their close one and say, I'm doing a double shift. I've gone to a cot death. I've gone to something like that. We have to deal with this because we're the only agency that says yes 24/7. We're the only agency that takes an oath and says, I will protect and serve life and property. We take it as an absolute privilege. Greater uptake of AFP welfare services. Never more has our senior executive supported us with welfare services and so forth. Not only with SHIELD, the Federal Police Association as well is very strong at the same time. We also have an attraction because the AFP is a big beast. Dave and I have been lucky to work in the national and international aspect as well. I've been fortunate myself to work in 4 cities outside of Canberra, an external territory in 3 continents. Yet the most valuable thing that I've done is being a police officer in the ACT, and I'm absolutely proud. And the passion that I display is displayed by about 750 men and women, whether they be in Tuggeranong, detectives of Belconnen, crash police, or detectives at Gungahlin. And I'll bring the point now at detectives at Gungahlin. About 2.5 years ago, due to a number of critical incidents, we have a sergeant and I think 8 to 10 detectives at Gungahlin as well. They actually work out of the training room, which used to be shared by the Fire and Rescue Service, the State Emergency Service and the Volunteer Bushfire Brigade. We had to fight hard for them to even have an office space as well. But they are absolutely vital men and women who absolutely help us as well. I was probably 3.5 years ago when I started here in the district, and I'm lucky enough to run this district twice and have done a lot of roles in the north part of Canberra and privileged to have done that as well because we had probably a very Canberra problem, but I was not comfortable that we had 2 homicides in Palmerston. And my apologies if that's brought up some feelings of anybody who's lived in Palmerston as well. There were deceased, there were family members and so forth, and that caused a lot of alarm. And we finally got some Gungahlin detectives, and those men and women are absolutely passionate as well, and they've done some great work and work closely hand in hand, and there's a great relationship that they have. But the welfare aspect is very, very important. My obligation, Dave's and all of our sergeants, we're Commonwealth employees. It is our responsibility, as many of you in your roles as well, whether it be private or public sector, to think about the H&S as well. I take it very seriously. If I don't look after our people or people aren't looking after me and vice versa, we're no good to you. And we monitor ourselves. We gauge ourselves. The days of us being tough guys or whatever, that doesn't work anymore. We're human beings, we sense check ourselves of how we're going. Dave's told me any number of times, I've told Sergeant X to go home, Senior Constable Y, they've done too, and Dave will check how many critical incidents that they've been to. And we're constantly checking. Didn't they go to that, it might have been a Gungahlin car, didn't they go to that suicide in Kippax? And I'm sorry if I'm just speaking a bit candidly. If I am, please let me know. I'm very respectful of the audience as well. The cultural aspect is very important to us. You know, Robert Peel once said, the community are the police and the police are the community. If we don't get that right, we'll never get it right. I'm a son of migrants. I didn't speak English till I was 7. I speak fluent Greek and I also speak Spanish. So I do have some first-hand understanding what it's like to come to a new country. And in my case, my parents and I went to Greece when I was 6 and came back when I was 7. So I've almost had that migrant experience, even though I was born in that special part of Greece called Melbourne. Sorry, my B-grade comedy career isn't working out. So I first-hand understand that as well. And the welfare of our people is our number one priority. Some years ago, we didn't get that right. We saw too many of our colleagues having mental health and never coming back in the police as well. So what do you do?
Too easy. Thanks, Mick. I think that pretty much sums it up, hopefully well enough for everyone about, you know, what the environment is that we're policing, some of the trends that we're seeing, but more importantly, some of the resources or lack of resources that are there to support you guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen with your community, with your homes, with your kids, with your schools. I'd just like to finish by saying, and echoing what Mick says, we are all part of the community. It's great that we get invited along to events like this. It's great that we get to contribute and have a say or share our experience as well. But most importantly, I think what we'll get value out of today or tonight is questions. You know, we are open to anything. Our CPO, as you would have seen in the media recently, is very open about some of the conditions and some of the resourcing within ACT policing. So I'll open it up to either myself or Mick and anything that you choose to ask.
Before we open the floor, I'll just go ahead. Thanks, Dave and Mick, for coming down. Like, before we're going to open the floor for the questions, I just want to, you know, on behalf of Gungahlin community, on behalf of Canberra, we want to thank you. We want to give you a big round of applause for what you do.
Can you put it on the minutes? We represent the police of Gungahlin, and there's another 47 men and women that we'd like to credit as well, and the Gungahlin detectives.
Absolutely. We want to thank everyone, not just people who are serving in Gungahlin, you know, but also everyone involved in the ACT. We really appreciate it. We thank you. But just speechless from what you guys been telling. And if I'm going to take it to the next level for sure to support the community and stuff. Before I open the the floor to for questions, you know, whatever the approach that we want to take, that's going to support you. And if anyone comes against, I hope all the MLAs and all the government representatives will support your cause, because it's a very key, essential thing for the Gungahlin. I think if anyone going to come, you know, I don't think anyone would come against, you know, in the great cause of supporting you guys. But I don't think if anyone going to come against, I'm going to just name and shame. I want to be upfront now to everyone who's listening, because this is our community, this is our people, and if we don't support, who else can support them? So with this thought, I'm going to open the floor for the questions.
My first question was just what can we do and how can we get you the resourcing you need?
I think it's obviously environments like this, us engaging and saying what the problem is, our executive saying what the problem is, but also as a community, that voice. You know, we can scream till the cows come home about conditions. I can tell you that Gungahlin Police Station was meant to be upgraded 5 years ago. I've got plans sitting on my desk from 5 years ago when nothing has happened. The meeting room that, or the office that Mick alluded to with the crime members, it is basically a training room with tables like that and they sit in a circle. Once we finally got that training room, it took another 2 months to get a lock on the door. Okay, so we can scream, we can agitate as much as we can. Our executive are absolutely working as hard as they can for us. But unless the community speaks up and says that what the AFP or ACT policing is not providing is not good enough. So we are reliant on the public. We are reliant on groups like this. If you are not getting the service that you deserve, please speak up.
Can I make some myth-busting combined issues? Between Dave and I, we have 65 years police experience. Here's our judgment, and we're we're police officers, but each day we're learning. I want to myth bust. There's a view that crime statistics should correlate police. Last time I remembered, if we're visible, we sort of actually deter crime. If we're visible, we can engage with you. We can listen to you. Dave made a point earlier. Dave and I meet for coffee about once a week, and we sort of combine it with a bit of everyday policing. We meet outside the Greek bakery. What a surprise, it's a Greek bakery at Gungahlin, but we actually engage with the community. And we absolutely love it. And we talk about the issues. And Dave is usually with his full accoutrements, as well as I am as well. Our police want to walk the shops. Also, we do have a school liaison program. So our police officers are engaged to each school, and many of you are as well. So they do that as well. Also, if you have police that are visible, you're going to be safer. We are going to job, but we also find that job's important because in most cases that's a victim. 20% of our work is detection and apprehension, locking up bad guys, to put it simply. We don't see them as bad guys. They're people we put before the courts, and we've got to respect the criminal justice system. But the other 80% is just as valuable because that's your missing child. That's us recovering your stolen motor vehicle. That's the person in your backyard in the middle of the night that you felt unsafe, and we need to go to that. That might be that noisy party of that youth that are full of drugs and you're scared and your child is screaming. We still find that just as valuable. And please don't think that we don't.
Yeah, and that's a reflection of it, is that unfortunately with a priority-based policing system and low resources, you cannot service some of those other incidents because we are at those higher priority events.
So what's the sort of
So what sort of practical things can we do? Should we be getting a few petitions? And if we do get petitions, can we come to you and find out what should go in them? What other practical things can we do to support you?
Well, that's one thing that we are blessed with in the ACT is a lot of interest groups, politicians, members, MLAs. So we do have an audience there that can listen. And I think whether that's picking up the phone, whether it's sending an email, whether it's writing a letter, you know, anything that you feel that you're capable of or comfortable with to advocate on behalf of your community. I would love to invite you all or anyone over to Gungahlin Station to have a look at the conditions, but I'd only be able to take small groups because you wouldn't all fit. That's the reality of it, you know. We have the Rotary clubs come through. We have youth groups come through as often as we can. But you know what? More often than not, I will refer those groups to other stations because they're better equipped, better resourced, and probably what they expect a level of a police station should be. So we had some international police in Canberra this week, part of a Pacific policing program. They reached out to me and said, members have come out to Gungahlin or to City Station before, can we bring them out to Gungahlin? And I was actually embarrassed. And I wrote back and I said, look, I think you should try Belconnen or I think you should try Tuggeranong because I don't think it would be reflective of the standard that should be displayed. You know.
Just to add on that, Dave. Question, so we will be doing a petition on this issue as a community, so it's coming soon and I'm going to get the noise whatever way we can and we're going to get the media. I'm not sure whether the media is allowed to get some of the snippets of your so-called office, so you know we want to help you in every single way, and then the main way we can do is through the community, and because if we don't come together, you know, we will fail. So we have to come together in stronger way and tell our politicians and elected members, this is what matters for the Gungahlin community, and this is what, it's not just about the Gungahlin community, it's also about the human aspect as well. This is the right thing to do. You know, you don't want to work in those kind of places, and work-life balance is very important, and in this age, if we can't, you know, if we can't even provide the work-life balance, what's the point of being part of this community? So we have to do something. So as a Gungahlin Community Council, we will, you know, get the petition started, and I will be hoping that all the MLAs will be lining up to sponsor this petition. You know, so this is the one thing I want to jump in and provide that comment as you asked. Okay, pass on to the next question.
Just one thing again to educate you about Gungahlin, and there are some comparisons with Tuggeranong, and I respect the Tuggeranong police and their community. I just spoke to Rod Anderson about an hour or two beforehand. Rod, as many of you know, was the officer in charge of Gungahlin up until about 4 years ago, and he absolutely is passionate about Gungahlin. He's now the officer in charge of Tuggeranong. So Rod gave us some really great insights. So here's the key thing. In the 2021, so I'll just speak on facts as well, it said that Gungahlin had 87 suburbs, 87,000 people, and 19 suburbs. Tuggeranong has 89,000 as of the 2021 and 18 suburbs. I think we're all safe to say 100,000 is our population, most likely Tuggeranong's. However, here's the difference. Even at its height, Tuggeranong never had as much as a multicultural community, which I personally think is absolutely healthy. We're a reflection. New settlers and new migrants and new refugees. There are 3 more suburbs in the pipeline. Those of you who know, so even that suburb didn't even have Moncrief on it. Did you notice that? Yes. Right? Eye for detail. You should be a detective as well, like Dave and I. But it didn't have Moncrief. Kenny was just a thought. And as you know, Kenny is upcoming. Throsby isn't fully finished as well. And those suburbs have got more infrastructure and more infill. And there are more suburbs to come along as well. I think 3 new other suburbs that there's speculation of what they're going to be named. I think there's some fun pieces that might be called Curios and stuff like that. That's not my decision, but they will come online as well. So Gungahlin, in terms of urbanisation, is designed more differently, medium density and infill as well. With all that strata comes a high quality and more different type of policing that we want to match as well. If I could, I've looked at some models in Victoria where they were actually paying police officers to stay in that community longer, say in the 90s where they had police say, if you stay at Sunshine Police Station in Footscray and you learn Vietnamese, you'll stay for 5 years and we'll reward you and you'll look better for promotion. We've got things to do differently as well. Doing our job. And that's very, very important as well. More recently, one of Dave's constables, and it's an indelicate suburb, we want to put out a booklet to understand what's required once in a death. Whilst we've moved away, what is it that we can help you? The services and so forth. And we said, we should put these in new settler languages so people can understand the grief and loss with their families as well. You know, we have a mosque here. When I was the superintendent here many, many years ago, see how far we've come. There were people opposed to the mosque. I respect democracy. All I hear from the community, isn't it a good thing that we have a mosque? And, you know, the world was different then as well. So this is how inclusive. I would say Gungahlin probably the most inclusive part of Canberra as well. So they're the key things that we need to consider. Petition or not, we have no influence on that. You are the Gungahlin Community Council that I'd like to press on.
Thank you. Thanks for doing the difficult job that you do for us and coming along tonight and sharing what you do. I was just wondering, is there a public statement by the police that we can access that says to government, this is what the police require, this is how big we need the station to be, this is how, you know, the size of our team that we need to have to provide effective policing, this is the number of desks we need, something specific like that would help us to support you?
I can tell you there's been numerous instances of planning that have gone on over the last 5 years. As I said, I've got plans sitting on my desk from 5 years ago. I think that's also what's been lacking, is that consistency in planning and following through, the resourcing, the financing, everything to go with it. Even as we speak today, you know, there's still talk of one of the agencies, the Royal Fire Service, moving out of the Joint Services Centre there, and our office taking over some of that space. But we're reliant on, you know, that agency to move out, for them to have the vacant space as well for them to move into. So it's a real concertina effect, or a domino effect, if you like. So what that does, that slows down planning. It slows down, particularly over financial years, what can be allotted depending on what time of year it is. So there's all these kind of boundaries. I don't think that there is a solid plan that you could say, we are doing this by this date, this by that date. And I think that that's something that really needs to be looked at. Gungahlin Station itself, obviously it's a facility that's, owned and managed by the ACT government, which is unique to some of the other premises that the AFP holistically operates nationally. So we don't have as much input also into it. So we are very reliant on the ACT government. We're reliant on, the GESC itself and the powers that be to agitate and to assist on our behalf. But I think holistically it needs to be looked at and probably consolidated down to that level of specifically, yes, what is your recruitment? What desks do you need? What computers do you need? All that kind of stuff. So virtually starting from the ground up. And is that what's planned and has been planned for the last 5 years, not only going to be suitable now, but is it going to be suitable into the future?
Probably going back to your point, the Chief Police Officer has made some key statements, and we're guided by him as well. And we're here to support him as well, as much as our senior executive. And probably that would be your best guide.
Yeah, there has been numerous things in the media recently, particularly I think it was just over a week ago, where CPO Gagan came out and was very adamant about resourcing in the ACT holistically.
Yeah, good evening, Superintendent and Inspector. My name's Josh. Thank you very much for coming out tonight and presenting to us. That was very informative. My apologies to take a bit of your time, but I've just got a few questions for you, if I could. I've been in the area for 7 years now. I came from interstate, but I look with concern on the Gunners Station compared to Belconnen and Tuggeranong. I've lived down in Belconnen and Tuggeranong myself as well, and the shortage of police we seem to have around here. Are you able to give us any indication as to what the strength of Gungahlin Police is and what the general shift strength is from day to day?
Certainly. So as I said, on paper, we'd be looking at a group or a collective of 49. Now that not only just takes on your sergeants and your teams, but it also takes on your admin staff, your support areas, those aspects. So police on the ground, feet on the ground, you're looking at, on paper, a sergeant and 8 members. I can tell you that due to impacts such as COVID, protest activity, redirections, having to support other stations and their shortages, we would be lucky to have 1 and 6, so a sergeant and 6 patrol members. Now, when you factor that in, you've got to have a member, preferably 2, that run your station, so your front office staff, to keep that station open 24 hours a day. So let's factor that in. So now you're down to a sergeant and 4, if you're lucky. That's lucky enough to have 2 patrol vehicles on the road at any time in Gungahlin. Now you look at those crime trends that we spoke about a short time ago. Some of the higher priority incidents that we are attending: family violence, deaths, suicides, major armed robberies, aggravated robberies. Let's factor if you had one of those instances. God forbid that we have a death that we have to attend. Write that car off for the shift. They're gone. Those 2 members, they will be tied up with that, as they should be, because of the seriousness of that offence, of that event. Now you're down to a sergeant and 2. 1 car, servicing anywhere between 87,000 and 100,000 people. What is the flow-on effect of that? Well, I can tell you, I'm on the phone to communications, I'm on the phone to the duty ops manager saying, I'm down to 1 car, you're going to have to get crews from City and Belconnen to start covering the Gungahlin district because I don't have any resources. That's simply not good enough. It's not good enough for here, and it's not good enough that City and Belconnen, that fit under mixed remit, have to give up their resources and provide further risk to those 2 other communities by having less resources on the road.
Equally as well, what Dave talks about a sergeant. So let's just say he has a perfect day for a sergeant is, wow, I have 2 crews and I have somebody in the front office. Now, if somebody goes sick, that constable will work with the sergeant. The sergeant is there to lead and so forth. Yet out of the 6 sergeants, and I'm proud of them, they probably detect and apprehend more people than all the other sergeants in the ACT. So, like in the movies, you lock up the bad guys, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of administration, there's investigation. That means that not only are they leading their teams, they have to investigate, they have to get witnesses, they have to do a crime scene, they have to get forensics like anybody else. In most cases, they might do a statement of facts. Those sergeants will also go to jobs, but I also am concerned that they'll sometimes go one up, which is not convention for us. I don't want police to go by themselves. Just because you've got 3 stripes and a crown does not make you any better than anybody else. They are still human beings and they are prone to safety issues as well. So this goes back to safety. My sergeants probably, as Dave knows, put more people before the court. In all cases, believe it or not, people have a right to plead not guilty or otherwise. So those sergeants will be stuck in a hearing, a forensic procedure, maybe a committal or Supreme Court. They could be there 2 or 3 days, meanwhile somebody else has to do their job. They're not doing a bad job, they're actually showing leadership, but by having leadership, we take down the deficit of the police that we require.
So just on that note, given that we're so short apparently in the Gungahlin area though, when an incident such as the one that you alluded to earlier about the Casey burglaries, how is the shortfall in police presence then maintained in the case where all of our police are taken up with such short numbers of police?
Well, it has a direct impact, and it kind of goes back to what Mick was also saying. So you talk about resources and investigation. So those members that are investigating those burglaries and doing a fantastic job, that is my team 2 at Gungahlin. So effectively, I don't have a team 2 anymore. They are off the road doing that investigation. And I can tell you the amount of work that goes into it is unbelievable. So then I'm having to backfill, either putting other members from my station on overtime, so there it compounds that welfare issue. We're having to knock people back and say, no, you've worked too much. We're going to stop this now. You've worked 8 days in a row. No, not suitable, not good enough. We're almost setting people up to fail. And as an organisation, that's just not acceptable.
So does that then essentially leave one police patrol on the streets to respond to incidents in cases like that, or none? Are we left with no police?
Yes. So
Josh, is it? Yeah,
Yes,
Josh.
yes.
Josh, it does, but like I said, these are smart police officers, smarter than I ever was at that time. Their OHS and training is absolutely top dollar, and they would not put themselves at peril and just get a rush of blood and said, I'm going to that armed robbery at the service station in Amaroo at the Ampol. They're going to be considerate of how they go to it as well. Equally as well, we have a duty inspector at any particular time. We have the duty operations manager. So if you have some vision that they're out there in the wilderness by themselves with a soundtrack, no, but it's not equitable amongst what the rest of Canberra looks like. For the fastest, and I think now Canberra is the fastest growing city in Australia, and Gungahlin is now officially the fastest growing urban area in Australia.
So if that's the case, so
You want to wrap up your question?
I've just got a couple more, sir. Just got a couple more, that's all. I'd just like to know what's going on in Gungahlin because I can't seem to get...
I get the others to...
That's fair enough.
to have some questions, so do you want to come back to you once? So we got others.
We don't mind quickly answer them.
We got a few more speakers as well.
Okay. All right.
So that's what. So maybe we'll wrap up your question and then we'll go back.
All right. I was just going to say, so given that we're so short then, and this is a massively burgeoning area at the moment, and maybe even in relation to Mr. Braddock or Mr. Milligan here, is there any move by the current ACT government to increase numbers at Gungahlin? Is there an actual move or an increase in the station or a new station, which, given the shoebox that is currently in existence, we really need?
And all the space in the city is.
And look, and I'm going to put my hands up here and I'm going to say that's well above my pay grade. But what I will say is that I've got plans, as I keep reiterating, 5 years ago. I can hark back to different iterations that I'm told by previous OICs. But all I can tell you is there's just been an absolute inaction. Now, that's for a variety of reasons. So I'm not casting blame, but no one has grabbed this holistically, no one has looked at it from the ground up, and no one has come up with a solution that is solving the problem here at Gungahlin. We can recruit all the police we want, we've just got nowhere to put them. We've got nowhere for the resourcing to go, the vehicles, the computers, anything else. So we could magically come up with 100 police tomorrow. It'd be fantastic. I can tell you I've got nowhere to put them.
Dave made a point that tomorrow, I think, isn't it? Or no, Friday, we're all going to a graduation. I think there's going to be 5 police going to Dave, and you might say, that's good, that's terrific. That might increase it by at least 10%. As soon as they come, Dave has got releases for people who want to become future detectives, future crash investigators, future intelligence officers as well. They might want to go interstate, which is their right. They have a career. So it's a nil effect as well. It's even above my weight class as well. Our chief police officer and our senior executive are fighting very hard as well, because they do care about our police. And we also look at that we have legislation under the Commonwealth Workplace Health and Safety Act to make sure that our police are safe. Safety doesn't just mean you're safe and you don't get cut or hurt. It means your training. It means every other aspect, your well-being and so forth. And we take that very seriously as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'll just reiterate what community said. Really appreciate what you're doing for the community. My question is based on the juvenile offenders mainly. So you did mention some of them are repeat offenders. So are there any programs that the cops working with any of the social services department, anyone, to get them not go back to what they were doing?
We have a number of programs in place, and we have areas that focus on recidivist offending. So that's trying to redirect those juveniles away from the court system and looking at alternate ways of remedies. So we work closely, obviously, with groups like the Community Council. We work with Rotary. We'll work with anyone to come up with a solution. So one of the problems that we also face in Gungahlin is a youth centre. That has been something that has been hit and miss, off and on, for so long, purely because they cannot find a suitable or full-time area for that youth centre to go. So if you don't have a place or an area where kids feel safe to go, where they feel comfortable, where they're occupied, where they're stimulated, then there's half your problem in the town centre of Gungahlin itself. So it's a police problem, don't get me wrong, with the offending, but we have to work with community, we have to work with social groups and support agencies and partners to make sure that we do have an alternative and we're not just steering these kids towards court. So Mick is doing work with the PCYC. We're going to advocate for them to come out to Gungahlin if possible. We know it works, we know the systems work, we just have to provide that footing for kids to be able to approach, and if it's not there, they're not going to engage, and they're especially not going to engage with police.
So Dave's correct. We 2.5 years ago, there was an interim youth centre, as you well know, on the first floor opposite Marketplace as well. The commercial retailer opened that up, and I think some community services have opened up. They've now got a tenant. I understand their commercial realities. No more youth centre as well. So we go above and beyond as police. So Dave has been very, very active in the community as well. Where our shortfall falls is, as you know, migrant resource centres, new settler resource centres and so forth aren't available in Gungahlin. They're available in Belconnen, Mars, the multicultural assistant refugee centre is largely in the city as well. They're very, very helpful, but they're not at this location. We intend in the future to go to the PCYC in Erindale, same remit. That opened up in the early 80s, where the demographics of Tuggeranong looked not dissimilar to Gungahlin. It's absolutely still valid to be there in Erindale. And speaking to Rod Anderson, our colleague today, he also suggested that they might go out to Western, so it's a broader issue. We'd like to get the PCYC out there, but they've got their own checks and balances, and we obviously they'll say who, what, when, why, how. But at least we've started the conversation. So the solution isn't just always police numbers, it's those other resources as well. So we've gone probably above and beyond our remit, but we don't mind because we care about this community.
Any final questions before we move on? Thank you very much, Dave and Mick. We appreciate your time. So we will work closely with you guys to find out more, because I know the crime stats probably some of the stats you wouldn't even received it because people not reporting these days as well. So there's now another thing. So what we see is the one side of the coin. There's more to explore as well. So we do appreciate as a community what you guys do, and we thank you for your time today. And we will, as a community, I think it's our time to come and support you guys. So we will do, and we will work out on the petition and see what we can do. And I will happy to touch base with you guys as well. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Henley.
Next, we got Olivia from Harrison Schools Parents and Community Association. This is another petition as well with the issues around the area. So I would like to invite Olivia. Thank you.
Just there. Oh, cool, thanks. Sorry, I'll just get that on me. Hello. Coming straight after those guys, I feel like these issues are much more minor and insignificant, but I think we're facing similar challenges this has been a decades-long fight. There's a failure of a systemic, holistic look at the traffic situation in the Harrison Education Precinct. Much as I was saying, they'll have sort of small incremental changes, but there's no sort of holistic plan or vision from the government about the area. So, hi, I'm Olivia. I'm the president of the Harrison School PNC and for this year and last year, and Shane is the treasurer last year and traffic and safety for several years. I've been working on traffic and safety stuff around Harrison for about 7 to 10 years. We currently have an e-petition in the ACT Legislative Assembly, which is sponsored by the MLA Michael Patterson, calling for another review of the precinct of the Harrison Education Precinct, and there might actually be some funding and action that results from that. So when we're talking about the precinct, we've got Mother Teresa School, Harrison School and a childcare centre, all on one road, one small local 2-lane road. We have 3 playing fields, we have 2 tram stops, and that's the road Wimmera Street that is very narrow and small, and it's also bordered by Nullarbor Avenue in the south and Mapleton Avenue in the north. Both of those head out to Horse Park Drive. They've got a back road which is called Katoomba Street, and we've got all of these car parking areas and shops at Franklin Shops, and a major thoroughfare in Flemington Road with a tram line on it. So that's the precinct we're talking about. In that precinct, this Harrison School was established in 2008, had about 330 students. We've now got 1,900. So there's been significant growth, you can say, as we heard from the police statistics as well. There's now multi-storey apartments and complexes all the way along Wimmera Street opposite all those 2 schools and childcare centre. And they're all multi-storey apartment buildings that I think the forecasters thought would all have single income, no kids, or maybe just single people in them. They've ended up having large families in them with 2 cars each. I think the forecasters thought that people living that close to a tram line would not have cars and take the tram, but people do all 3. So the growth in the vehicular traffic has obviously come commensurate with the population, and it's risen higher and faster than what was forecast and anticipated. So we are experiencing now some significant pinch points during peak times of school drop-off and pick-up. So this on the left is Harrison in 2008 when the Harrison School opened. and this is Harrison now. As you can see, all of that is now high-rise apartments. So we have been working for about 7 to 10 years with various different directorate departments and partners and lobby groups and whoever will listen to sort of flag our concerns. Right back at the beginning, when in 2008, when the Harrison School was built, the first PNC and principals were saying this road is not going to be big enough for the school you've planned, plus another school at the end of the street, plus a childcare centre, plus all of these apartments. We had no luck in getting it widened or anything before all of those apartments got built. So now that's, you know, fixed space, which is a shame. So we've been working long and hard. The response has always been fragmented and very piecemeal. If we sort of made enough noise about a specific footpath or a specific driveway, then Fix My Street might be able to do something. But a lot of the problems are bigger budget than the Fix My Street budget. They shift into capital works, and that's a different department, and that's a different area and a different time scale as well. So we've tried to get things escalated into capital works, and it just never lands. It just grinds to a halt somewhere between the departments and the directorates. Yeah, so we have also been told, we have a recent, 2021 was the last assessment that got done, where the ACT, what is the directorate called? Is it Transport and something? I can't remember. TSS something. Anyway, they engaged an external consultant to do a review. That consultant was not asked to obtain new data. They would just use 2017 data, even though it was 2021, and there were 5 more apartment buildings in that time. So after that review happened and there was a report finally, we then tried to engage in conversation and were basically told that our issues are really only at 15 minutes at either end of the school day, and it's not enough of a problem to do anything about. And that the traffic congestion we're experiencing is actually a benefit, because if there's so much traffic and congestion, then cars are moving slower, which means that there's less of a likelihood that a car and a kid will collide because the cars are moving slower, which wasn't really satisfactory for us. So hence we're launching this e-petition and this campaign to try to escalate again.
Sorry, Olivia, do you want to add something to that?
Go for it.
Sorry, I'm Shane, I'm with...
Go, Shane. Shane's also been fighting long and hard on this.
Sorry, just with that one as well. Mother Teresa at the same time had Transport Canberra come out, and their solution was... Oh, yeah. Their solution to the idea was, if you can't get into the parking, the kiss and drop, they can just keep doing loops around. So you imagine a parent, either parents or aunts or uncles, can you imagine your child waiting, a 7 or 8 year old waiting for 10, 15 minutes to do loops around. So it's just adding traffic.
Yeah, just going round and round and round and round and round.
Just a bit of history, if you just
Yep.
hang on there for a second. Up the top there at the intersection, during the COVID lockdown in 2020, I moved to Canberra in 2019 with my 2 sons, and my 5-year-old and I were riding home one day along Wamora turning right, and we almost got hit by someone as he was trying to turn left because he couldn't wait for someone to go around the Mother Teresa
I've got a picture later.
Yeah. And that scared the hell out of me. I'll admit that with a 5-year-old. And that's when I came to Olivia and our former president, Jackie, in one of our meetings. And they kind of said, oh, yeah, been there, done that. So I've been a strong advocate from that day. And my message to Michael Peterson was, let's be proactive and let's get this fixed before we have a near death or a death. And then everyone's going to be sorry laying flowers at on this street. And it's like, told you so. And nothing gets done about it.
Yeah, so we're working on let's not have an actual death before something gets done. And yeah, we're seeking a precinct as a whole approach and a commitment to funding remedies and solutions as a priority, not to be told that our kids' safety of the 2,500 kids and families who are traversing this area every day are not a priority. So, in that most recent assessment and report, it was suggested that we really shouldn't be making suggestions or brainstorming solutions ourselves because we are not the traffic experts. So we should really just flag issues and leave it up to the experts. And the experts are telling us there's no problem here. We were also, the consultant was engaged by the Directorate to assess the area and to consult with the community, but then COVID happened, but they didn't even attempt to consult with us online. So Shane and I had a briefing meeting with our principal and the Directorate, and they considered that was the community consultation. There was 4 of us in the room for 45 minutes. So that was not satisfactory either. And in the report, they said they'd done community consultations. And yeah, they used the 2017 traffic data. When their own people queried one piece of the data because it made Nullarbor Avenue look like it was a major highway, like the number was just way out wacky, then they actually went back and took a reading, but just of Nullarbor Avenue, not all of the other streets. So that was also not satisfactory. So our concerns around these pinch points are that there are not safe pedestrian crossings that parents can confidently trust that their kids will be able to navigate across in peak congestion times. So more families are driving because they can't trust that their kids will safely navigate this busy traffic area. There's not enough lanes for cars to queue to get into Mother Teresa and to get into our school and to get through the roundabouts to Flemington Road. We'll show you maps in a second. There's insufficient parking spaces at the schools and playing fields. So as you said, you've got 2 schools who are telling the only thing we can do is tell parents to continue circling until there's a spot, which just
And third to that as well, I'm still disbelief in terms of, if anyone's been to Harrison, the soccer fields there, they've got 4 soccer fields, which can turn into 10 soccer fields on a Saturday morning, and there's 50 car spaces. So if mum and dad, grandma, grandpa turn up, and all along, and Michael did admit to us that Michael Pearson actually admitted to us that he's had a fair amount of complaints from residents around Katoomba Street because there's just no parking. So if you do the maths, 50 or 60 parking spots for that fields, it just doesn't make sense.
So there's congestion through the intersections at both ends of Wimmera Street and really in the whole precinct at peak times. And there's a very dangerous bus stop situation, which we'll talk about in a minute, on Nullarbor Avenue, where the bus stop holds up traffic, people are frustrated, drivers are frustrated, so they make poor decisions and try to go round the bus where there are kids crossing in front of the bus to get to the school. So you've got zooming cars trying to do a quick... Anyway, it's great. So yeah, all this congestion and issues are causing drivers to be frustrated and making poor choices in their driving behaviour, which is resulting in a concerning number of near misses. So we currently, in addition to the e-petition in the Legislative Assembly, we now also have a Google form where we're trying to get community members to report any near misses that they observe, because there really is no way to data collect on that. The police don't hear about it because there was no collision. Sometimes maybe the people involved might tell the front office of the school, but more often not that it happens away from the actual front office. So people are watching these things happen every day, every week, but there's no measurement of it. So we're trying to get at least an ad hoc feeling for that measurement. So we're just very concerned that one day soon there's going to be an injury or a death and we'll all go, I told you so. And also, on a lighter note, it's also not promoting active travel and being good for the environment, because everyone wants to drive because they don't trust their kids to transport themselves on...
Oh, wonderful.
So, this is Mapleton Avenue looking towards Flemington Road, 2008 and now. You can see the growth and development. And this is Wimmera Street intersection that you were just talking about.
Where the guy was, this was all blocked here,
Yeah.
so I'm along this way down here.
You're coming that
and
way?
he's come around that way, and nearly hit me.
So a car trying to go down this road
Yeah.
couldn't, so he went around there and down that way and almost collected you.
At
Yeah.
3:10.
And I spoke this morning to the pedestrian crossing person who is a little bit further down here. She saw a kid almost get collected by a bus just here yesterday. And there was, on Friday last week, a kid and a motorcycle just here. So it's not a one-off. Yeah, this is Mapleton Avenue. You have, so the two red things are pedestrian crossings and school crossing with a school crossing supervisor. The orange line is cars that queue to get into Mother Teresa. Then you also have other cars that don't want to get into Mother Teresa, but they do want to get into this road to get down the childcare centre in Harrison. Then you have other cars coming from Flemington Road, also queuing on the other side to get down that same road. And you have what was that one? What did it do? Yeah, then you've got another lane of cars oncoming. So you've actually got sort of 3 lanes of cars, but there's only 2 lanes in the street, and cars are creating the third lane. And kids are trying to judge with their poor frontal lobes what speed the cars are going at and where they're going to go, and trying to get eye contact with the drivers to make sure that the driver has seen them while they're trying to cross here and cross here and cross here. So it's messy.
Sure. The other one that we've had complaints before as well, which is interesting, is that, as Olivia pointed out too, I just got here, where the school here has one way only, so therefore they've got to come out this one.
So they go in that
up.
entrance and
So
out this one, and they have to turn left.
They've got to turn left, and they turn right here, and they go through a townhouse complex.
And they do a rat run,
Through there and then turn left.
or they do a rat run through here at speed through a residential complex, because one of the remedies we tried was getting Mother Teresa and us to make our car parks a one-way with a left turn, and they have to go out this end of Wimmera. But the traffic roundabout at the end of Wimmera is a nightmare, so they're just doing rat runs down here because they really want to go that way anyway. So it's messy. And this is a little car park that has developed just on a spare block of land that for some reason there is a little ramp there, so it looks like a driveway. And there's been a truck parked there for
2 years.
2 years. And the government, through the report, said, yeah, that shouldn't be there, we'll get rid of that. Well, that was
2 years ago.
June 2021. Yeah. So all the pink spaces are where kids are walking and desire lines and trying to cross, including up here, there's a pathway that used to lead to a pedestrian crossing here, which when they built this slip lane, they took that out because it's illegal to have a pedestrian crossing across 3 lanes of traffic. But the desire line is still there because the path leads right to that point and there's no fence stopping kids crossing. So they just run across because that's human nature. You go the quickest route between 2 spots, right? So, and there's another desire line down here where you've got active travel signs telling you to come here, but then you're really supposed to go all the way down to this crossing or here, but they really want to cross here, so they just walk up and cross where they're not supposed to.
And the other issue we've got, particularly in the morning peak, is cars travelling across that way. It gets banked up because you've got the 4-minute rule. With
so they're all banked up there, yeah.
With the 4-minute tram.
So at the other end of the street, you've got Nullarbor Avenue. So that was it in 2008. That's it today. And that's the tram line just here. So the tram stops just there. So Nullarbor Avenue, same problem. You've got 3 lanes of traffic trying to go through a 2-lane space and cars queuing. So we've got the tram stop there, bus stop there. You've got traffic coming along that way that gets annoyed because they have the bus, when it stops to drop kids off, blocks the whole lane. So cars get annoyed and just try to zip around the bus while it's stopped. Meanwhile, there's kids coming off the bus and trying to run across the road to get to the entry in the high school, which is just there. There's no pedestrian crossing at all of any kind just there. There's one down here, or there's the roundabout. So it's just a recipe waiting. Yes, there's a recipe for disaster waiting to happen right there. All the pink bits are kids trying to move in and around the space and cross in various places. You also have cars queuing here to try to get across Flemington Road and trying to get left, and the left ones are being blocked from going left because of all the ones going straight ahead. So we're actually proposing that they take out a bit of this very wide pathway, which is the opposite of the ACT government's current active travel philosophy, because they think pathways should be wider and roads should be narrower. But in this particular one instance, if they just gave another lane to left-turning vehicles, all of this backup would clear, because they actually back up all the way through the roundabout and down here and up here. And you also have cars trying to turn right. And we've worked for about 7 years on the timing of those lights so that all of that backlog can actually get cleared in one green arrow, because often only 2 or 3 cars get through, and then people can't even get across because the right-turning cars are all queued back through the roundabout back here. But apparently it's only for 15 minutes twice a day, and it's not important. So yeah, that's just another little one of the development on Wimmera Street directly opposite the school. So yeah, the pinch points that we've talked about were the Nullarbor Avenue bus stop, which we talked about, and we're suggesting that they put a recessed bus stop so cars can continue on when the bus is stopped, and a raised wombat crossing so senior students can actually safely cross there. And there's another petition that's live at the moment about speed abatement along Nullarbor Avenue, because it's pretty much a rat run for people from Horse Park Drive to come through to Flemington Road. There's the 2 roads that border the top and the bottom of our precinct are the 2 roads that connect Flemington and Horse Park. So everyone just tries to zoom through there as fast as possible.
The other thing to be mindful as well is that Well Station Drive is closed quite often with the roadworks in around Kenny.
Yep.
So therefore,
and the new school when they build it.
The new school, yeah. So therefore, if you've got people coming from Fishwick, for example, or from Majura going into Mitchell, the only road they can take is that one,
yep.
because Well Station Drive is closed. So
yep.
it's going to add more trucks, more couriers.
Fun and games. So the pinch point around Wimmera Street and Nullarbor, we're suggesting that a 3rd lane be created on that footpath that we were talking about for a left-turning slip lane. We've suggested, so these are all the suggestions that we're making without the expertise of a fabulous town planner and traffic experts. That we're not supposed to make suggestions, but our common sense tells us some of them might work, or if you've got better ones, talk to us about what might be better. We're also suggesting physical barriers at some of those places where desire lines bring kids right to the curb where it is not safe to cross. I mean, they do that all the time in cities with tram lines and other things where, you know, people want to duck across right there, but if there's just that, you know, one of those metal fences, people will have to go 50 metres or 20 metres down the road to the more safe crossing. This is the bus stop, as you can see. So over here is the entry to the school. This is a sort of car park slip lane. Over here are kids that have just got off the bus, cars queuing up behind the bus. So these are the ones that zip around. And then this, I don't know if it'll work. No, it might not. Yeah, that was just a video showing those kids actually running across in front of a car, and then another car coming up here, and not sure if the kids were going to run across in front of them as well. So it's just scary. Here's the tram stop is just up there. Kids all come along here. The cars that are queuing to go round the roundabout queue right in front of the ramp on the refuge island. So kids have to go around moving cars to get across. And if there's another car here, they're never sure if the car's going to wait for them or not, because the kids have to gauge, is that car going or stopping, or are they going to run through the roundabout, or are they waiting for something else? So every single individual interaction between a car and a kid is a judgment call, which I'm not comfortable leaving our kids' lives up to a judgment call every single day. Yeah, and so you can see that the queuing traffic, cars coming around the roundabout, cars trying to get through the roundabout, kids trying to just navigate their way. So yeah, another pinch point, as we said, was the Mother Teresa car park and that end of Wimmera, and that impromptu car park that has developed there. And on Katoomba Street, the back street at the very back of the school, there's some significant problems to do with sight lines when there are cars parked along. It's actually kind of a windy road and only 2 lanes wide with cars parked on the sides. And it's actually quite hard to see kids coming across the school crossing, even if they're doing the right thing. So there's a lot of issues at that back end, because that's also access to the car park for the 2 big ovals. And yeah, there's also the aspect around a lot of light rail people using the Nullarbor stop, which is the Franklin stop, Franklin shops. They come and park in our school's car park because they can just get free all-day car parking, and there's nothing to stop them because it is a public car park, but it means that our car park gets really congested.
And with that as well, when I met with Suzanne on site, she suggested, well, her idea was that once the Well Station Drive commuter car park comes online, that there'll be no cars in the Harrison School.
Well, that happened. Like the car park came online at Well Station, but
yeah, but there's been no difference.
The congestion at Franklin.
I picked up my kids from at 5:30 in the afternoon at after school care, and I've seen people just walking from the tram straight into Harrison School to pick it up.
Yep.
So we've got school staff, teaching staff, parents and carers on top of light rail.
As well as some residents of the nearby apartments, because there's not enough car parking spots for families with 2 kids in all of those apartments. So a lot of them permanently use our school car park.
You go there on a Saturday and Sunday where the school car park should be completely empty, and you've got 10, 12 cars.
So this is just a reminder about who we're doing this all for. These are the kids and the parents and the carers that we're trying to keep protected and safe. And we don't want to see any one of them with their head cracked open on the pavement. So what we're doing about it is we've got that petition in the ACT government, which closes on 27th of March. And we've got that near miss reporting. So if you ever see a spot that looks dangerous and hairy or an actual near miss, put it in there so we can collate some data and evidence to support this. And Shane's your man, and I'm backing him up. And yeah, I've got a little flyer if you want to take one of those QR codes home with you.
Thanks, guys. Any questions or feedback would be? Yep.
There are 2 petitions. Yeah.
There are 2 petitions I've just seen and signed. Do you want both of them signed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the Nullarbor Avenue speed abatement one and our one. We would love it if there's only 3 active at the moment on the website. 4, sorry, yeah. There you go. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, sorry, sir and ma'am. Just whom do we need to contact to place community pressure for change to occur on this?
I think it's best if you go to the local MLAs.
Yep.
Michael Peterson and Leanne Parsley and Suzanne. Also, all 3 of them, I've met with all 3 of them, and we've met them all 3 on site, so they're well aware of the situations.
They have stood watching the bus stop
Okay.
During peak time, all 3 of them.
And were any tentative sort of indications made from them that change would
Yeah,
occur?
so this e-petition has come online from Michael.
Right.
Michael's suggestion was put it in there, and then hopefully...
Leanne also offered to sponsor it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So very much the petition's supposed to be a bit of a get it in there.
So for 7 to 10 years, we've been working with directorate contacts in the various, sections, but without the capital works budget
Nothing gets done.
go ahead, they're not going to get any of the bigger solutions. They're only just doing band-aid solutions on a little fix my street sort of thing in one corner.
And the big capital works projects, that all comes under our MLAs. They're the ones that sign off on it. They're the big checks that we want for this sort of stuff.
So do you have a plan online for the community to look at in relation to those capital works?
No, we haven't got that far because, again, it stopped at the consultants report, which had 2 or 3 remedies. One of them suggested, let me take it back, one of the remedies they suggested was to move, so there's a full pedestrian crossing there with lights and raised thing and black and white. They suggested we put another one in just here that everyone coming off the tram would have to go down there to cross to get to the high school entrance or the junior school entrance, and just move all the traffic away from this crossing.
So is it possible at all, ma'am, to have those tentative designs placed online or even on the GCC Facebook group or website for the general public to have a look at?
I mean, I don't know what the legality is around putting their report online about their response.
Well, then I suppose the community can make comment, and even when writing to the MLAs, they can reference tentative plan number 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I'll have to get confirmation that we can.
We've done community consultations with maps and like post-it notes and things at our school, and sought that kind of feedback on the proposals. The concern around moving, like putting another pedestrian crossing there, is that desire lines are still that people want to walk straight across there. So without physical barriers there, it's not going to fix anything. And in their report, they said physical barriers would, residents would be up in arms because that would prevent them from crossing where they want to at all other times of the day and the week that aren't the peak periods. And I don't know how much residents would be up in arms compared to how much we're up in arms about our kids' safety.
Yeah. Is the link or the QR codes for the petitions on the GCC Facebook group or website at all?
It's on.
Thank you.
It was on, and today as well, we'll put it on the comment section. So
Yeah.
if you're watching online, you should have
It's on the Harrison School P&C page and on the Harrison School Facebook page. And I'm pretty sure GCC have shared the petition one. I don't know if they've shared the near miss one yet, because I only got that up a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. And I'm not surprised with the TCC's response on the traffic analysis. That's the best thing they do, and then that's where they stop.
Yep.
There won't be any progress, which we've seen. Hopefully, this will change in the future. But those traffic modelling that they do is always, I don't know what data they're based on. It's always some 5 years, 4 years outdated one. So, and the situation where we are, it's not new. The planning has been, it's always the planning is chasing up to the
reality of the volume
that's
of traffic.
right. So we're always doing a catch-up game. So this is what's happening. And so for the people in the room and then who are watching on Facebook, the link is on the comment as well. So please do support this petition. And it ends when it's
27th of March. Our e-petition ends. Yep. But the near miss, tell us anytime if you see one, because we just need to keep providing some data of our own about the seriousness and the volume of issues, so that we can counter the narrative that there's really not an issue going on here.
And another interesting fact is we have to do petition for everything just to make our elected members to speak on the issues that matters for the community.